Hello, I'm Grin, and welcome to the first Robocraft Infinity video in quite some time. Since the last one of these that I've done, there has actually been a Robocraft Infinity update, but I didn't in fact make a video on it, namely because they were rude enough to do their update in late September, and late September and all through October is where Channel Grin is basically its busiest working on all of the Halloween content, and so there was simply no time to play the game or comment on the update. And this video is still not really about the Ghost in the Machine update. I will briefly comment on it, but it's not the main focus. Mainly I'm just making this video to vent about how absurd some of FreeJam, the company who makes Robocraft's, decisions seem to be. But before we get into that, let's briefly address the September 20th Ghost in the Machine update as much as I can. I've not put a great deal of time into playing the game since the update came out, and so I can't give my usual review on all of the items, but I'll comment on what I've seen, or in some cases, what I haven't seen. Firstly, the main point of the update, the long-awaited Ghost module, I've not yet unlocked it, and I've not seen anyone use it in the game, although, since it makes you invisible, maybe that's the point, maybe they have used it, and maybe it's just been too effective. So, I look forward to seeing it and using it, or not seeing it, or using it and not being seen, when I eventually get to it. Then moving on, Iron Destabilizers, new weapon, pretty good, still haven't used it myself though, and haven't seen anyone else use it. But what I have seen in use is the Nano Binder, which used to be a thing in Robocraft PC back when I played it, and it's a really cool addition to the game. I've seen it used in a couple of matches, and it pretty much adds a new class of vehicle in that you can now be a support vehicle. So major thumbs up to that, and I'll comment on the rest of it once I actually have something to say about it. But then over to the negative side of updates, something rather major that wasn't even listed as an update, but instead snuck in with the upcoming maintenance on October 18th, is AI-controlled bots in the PvP matches. Now, this is something that I don't consider to be intrinsically a terrible thing, but I do think it basically symbolizes the beginning of the end of Robocraft Infinity. You see, the reason they're in the game is to pad out player numbers and avoid your wait time in the lobby being too ridiculously long, which is good because that's something I've complained about multiple times. 15 minutes waiting for a match is too darn long. But the problem is two or possibly threefold, in that firstly, the AIs are super dumb, so there's no real competition when you're going against them. If you have more AIs on your team and the other team has more players, you're basically going to lose the match no matter what, because the AIs are basically just moving targets that really provide nothing to your team, aside from feeding the enemy. The I in their title AI is really charitably given. They are definitely far from intelligent, and they're not fun to play against in the least, which is a major issue, as they are, at this point, or at least last night when I was playing it, basically making up the main player base of the game. There were multiple matches where there was me, one other real player on the other team, and that was the only real people playing. You were lucky to find 3 or 4 real players in the game, including yourself, and for the most part, the majority of the rosters on either side were made up by computers. Which, unfortunately, somewhat to me, indicates that the game is basically dead. After all, if the AIs are there, as Robocraft Infinity says, to reduce wait time in the lobby, and the point of wait time in the lobby is waiting for other players to play against, well, if so many computers are making up the teams, then surely that indicates that there are so few people playing that you can't even get more than 2 connected at once. Which I suppose in a rather roundabout way somewhat ties into the second point of what we're talking about, namely FreeJam's shocking inability to handle and or avoid brand confusion. Allow me to take you back to a few days ago, where I started to receive comments talking about an upcoming Robocraft Infinity update. This, of course, confused me, as I follow Robocraft Infinity on Twitter and occasionally check their website, and had heard nothing about an upcoming update. But then a few days ago, all of my Robocraft Infinity videos started to have spikes in views, which is what usually happens when a Robocraft Infinity update does indeed drop. So I went to the Robocraft Infinity website and had a look, and there was no update listed. I went to the Robocraft Infinity Twitter and had a look, and once again, no update listed. So I simply searched in YouTube Robocraft Infinity update and looked for the most recent videos, which is when I noticed the absurdity. You see, there has indeed been an Infinity update, and it is for Robocraft, but it's not for Robocraft Infinity. FreeJam have just released an update for Robocraft PC, and they've named the Robocraft PC update the Infinity Update. This is, I believe, an absurdly stupid marketplace decision, as they were already fighting an uphill battle of brand confusion when trying to distinguish their IPs after they chose to run development on two separate games that are extraordinarily similar, but still distinct despite being developed simultaneously. Robocraft on the PC is not Robocraft Infinity, and this has always been a subject of confusion. In fact, when Robocraft Infinity was first announced, everyone thought understandably that it was just a port of the PC version, and FreeJam had to come out and say, no, it is in fact a separate game, and has been developed from the ground up for the Xbox One. And eventually consumers came to understand that, and the two games, Robocraft for the PC and Robocraft Infinity, continued to be developed simultaneously, but certainly separately. So, now that consumers have slowly begun to understand that Robocraft PC and Robocraft Infinity are not the same game, and instead FreeJam makes two separate but extremely similar games, Robocraft for the PC and Robocraft Infinity for the Xbox One, FreeJam have decided to make one of the most ludicrous and bad decisions of marketplace and brand confusion I've ever seen, and name their latest update to Robocraft PC the Infinity Update. Why? Why would they do this? And to be clear, the Infinity Update does not update Robocraft PC to being the same game as Robocraft Infinity. It's a separate thing again. It's just the latest version of Robocraft PC, which for some reason bears the exact same name as their different and separate game, Robocraft Infinity. Robocraft PC is currently at its version Infinity, which quite often is understandably getting referred to in shorthand as Robocraft Infinity. Anyone who wants to learn about upcoming updates to Robocraft's console version will be searching Robocraft Infinity updates, and anyone who wants to learn about the Robocraft PC update will be similarly searching Robocraft Infinity update. Why would anyone in their right mind decide to do this to their own brands? Don't they coincide in the same building? Is Robocraft PC's developers unaware that their other game is called Robocraft Infinity? I don't understand why anyone would purposely choose to do this. And before you say, but Grim, no one in their right mind will get confused by this, I must point out that they indeed already have, otherwise my Robocraft Infinity videos wouldn't be spiking in views after an update has been released to Robocraft PC. But let's bring this full circle. FreeJam are a relatively small development team. Robocraft PC and Robocraft Infinity are extremely similar games where it doesn't really make much sense at all for them to be different, and clearly they're making no effort to continue to have them distinguished in the public eye. And so maybe, just maybe, considering the falling numbers of the Xbox One version of the game, Robocraft Infinity, it's time they actually just made them the same game and engaged in some cross-platform Robocraft fun. And as somewhat of a last-minute update, while I was finding screenshots for this video, I found a blog post on Robocraft PC's website where they mentioned as a small group of developers, it's difficult to develop 3 similar but different games at once. That's right, 3. There's apparently Robocraft, Robocraft Infinity for the Xbox, and also Robocraft Infinity for China, which are all slightly different. And the reason that Robocraft PC is being updated to Robocraft PC Infinity is that they're implementing things from Robocraft Infinity China into Robocraft Infinity PC, and the two games are now going to be more similar, but still slightly different. So if you're counting, that's Robocraft PC version Infinity, Robocraft Infinity China, and Robocraft Infinity for the Xbox One. And the reason I didn't find this out until the editing stage of the video is because if you want Robocraft news, you basically have to follow Robocraft on Twitter, Robocraft Infinity on Twitter, and also Mark Simmons, the CEO of FreeJam, on Twitter, because all of the news comes out scattered across the 3 of them, as once again, despite all of 3 of the game's developments clearly having slight influence on each other, they are still separate games, and it's definitely sometimes difficult to see the full picture, which once again brings up the subject of brand confusion. And if it is so difficult for them to run these 3 slightly different but extremely similar games, and they're just slowly making them more and more similar, why did they make 3 in the first place, and why don't they just condense them all into 1, make them cross-platform, and thus solve the bizarre self-manufactured issue of not having enough developers for 3 games, solve the issue of brand confusion of having 3 separate games with similar names, and solve the issue of Robocraft Infinity for the Xbox One's rapidly declining player base.